So another aspect of what we've been doing and talking about is, in terms of just general communication and outreach and engaging the local church, I think is all very local, very one-on-one. I want to diverge from that conversation for just a moment and talk about another experiment we did as we were going through the peace plan to stay connected, and that's using the telemedicine and the telehealth model. What I mean by that, really, for those who are watching, it's just how did we leverage the internet? How did we do video? How did we communicate and keep the conversation going when we were on separate sides of the globe?
Right.
I will mention at the outset here, another doctor that we worked with was Dr. Rob Trotloff. He's in Minnesota, I believe. And he and I and you, we communicated across multiple time zones and did some really fun stuff. So as we talk about telehealth, telemedicine, we're going to use the healthcare example, but keep in mind, I think many professionals in your churches and in the local church, wherever you may be working, could participate in the same sort of theme. So let me begin with, what did we do? From your perspective, how did telehealth and teleeducation come to being in Kibuye, Rwanda?
Well, I think the telehealth and telecommunication piecework is one of those examples that show how the church can really create an impact as far as delivering healthcare services is concerned. And the telehealth consists in using the technology to connect local healthcare professionals with church volunteers who are healthcare professionals as well, to exchange the knowledge as far as the management of certain conditions is concerned. And this has, well, having Dr. Rob Trotloff from Minnesota, communicating with us at the hospital, that has helped a lot in terms of continuing medical education, but at the same time, in terms of improving the quality of care that were provided to our patients. Now, being able to have someone from outside and with a specific specialty or a specific specialization, being part of the team, that helped a lot. And having him participate in rounds, ward rounds, virtually, but actually, and having him train or participate in workshops, and I'm talking here about the congestive heart failure workshop, the diabetes mellitus workshop. All of that contribute a lot in increasing the knowledge of the whole team locally there, and improving the quality, and helping build more confidence and in the way these conditions are diagnosed and managed.
Yeah, it's interesting. We and I thank you for bringing up the quality of healthcare. That's one of our goals, right? Is to contribute to the betterment of the patients and the community. For us, the interesting point was we're thousands of miles away and have worked together, and then there's not this long pause. And I don't want to make it that it's all about trips, but between times, if you're working with a local church but you happen to be at a distance, or even in a separate community in that same township or that same state, the ability to leverage the internet, leverage communication strategies where the conversation can keep going.
Right.
I think that was kind of key for us. And as you mentioned, Dr. Rob, he would do weekly rounds. It was not hardcore hardware or software. In fact, I always make the joke that one time I looked at the bandwidth that we had to run this, and it was the first witness miracle I had. It shouldn't have worked, but it always did, which was great.
Yeah.
But the confidence building, the conversation around patients' care was ideal.
Right.
Now, outside of that, you mentioned 2 workshops we did, CHF and my favorite, the diabetes workshop. We had, and I was there, I was in Rwanda, and Dr. Rob was, again, in the United States. but we hosted, it was a little over a half-day event,
Yeah.
and we took up on diabetes, DKA, which is a bad form of diabetes that gets you admitted to the hospital. This idea that we're going to have this continuing education model. So just briefly, give your version of that workshop and what you noticed, and then I'll give you my version of how it went, and then we can kind of just wrap up, but I want to get your thoughts on how did it work? What did you notice when you were in that room?
Well, first of all, I noticed the excitement and the enthusiasm among the fellow colleagues who came from the surrounding hospitals.
Several hospitals, right.
And who came to attend the workshop. It was a huge opportunity to learn more about this condition and about a topic that is not commonly, that is not developed very often, because we're looking more at, workshop on HIV/AIDS and malaria, and that is at a time when the non-communicable diseases issue wasn't very much discussed nationally, and but everyone was eager to learn more about. So that was the enthusiasm of the continuing medical education on a topic that is not very much talked about. That was one of my first observations. But at the same time, I noticed that the exchange, was just smooth, regardless of the differences in the guidelines and the protocols. But the conversation was going on, and the exchange was so rich and very, very much appreciated by all the fellows who were there. So it was great and informative on both sides.
We learned a lot doing the experiment because it was Kinderwunden, it was French, because a lot of healthcare is in French, English, and sometimes I said important things too, and I don't know, it was English, I think, but the model of getting together and having a conversation on a topic that may not be a top 10 topic in the government. You had malaria, you had HIV; these are the giants.
Yeah.
But to talk about diabetes or congestive heart failure, it was a very there was this enthusiasm. I agree. I saw that on my end too. One thing that I particularly enjoyed as the physician from abroad was how to figure out how to make it work. So.
Right.
We weren't bringing in more materials. We were using the local materials available at that hospital or hospitals. What can we do here with the care that we can provide to improve the patient's health overall? And that back and forth, that tinkering and figuring out how we can make this work was really rewarding, I think, for all parties. And we learned a lot too. And I think for those that are thinking about using the internet and leveraging technology to do outreach, there's many implicit rewards to understanding each other, like having to figure it out over a video line. Getting good at that, there's this relationship you build. So in any case, I think it was a fun experiment to do. I encourage sites, other churches, however you want to leverage technology, go after it, because I think there's some remarkable wins in today's world that you don't always have to be present to continue a relationship. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.